You know, every week there's a lot of stuff that goes on here at the CCA workbench. Certainly, we're talking about rigs and techniques. So, Dave,
well, we want
what's
to talk
this
a little
about?
bit about cast nets because you know cast nets are a mystery to a lot of people. You know, people see them throwing those big nets out there and they go, "Oh, you know, how am I going to do that? That's going to be hard to learn," and they don't know anything about it. And if you're going to be fishing, you know, with baits especially, you're going to want to be able to learn how to throw a cast net because live bait especially gets pretty expensive if you keep buying it and buying it and buying it.
Right.
And it's really not that hard. One afternoon with a cast net and a good video, you could probably learn how to throw a cast net pretty good enough to catch yourself some bait anyway. And the one thing about cast nets is, you know, they come probably between 3 and, you know, depending on where you live, 12 to 14 feet. And those big nets above 8 feet are usually reserved for commercial guys who really know how to throw a net. So if you're a first-timer guy, you probably want to stay with a net that's 8 feet and under. And you're always going to look for a monofilament net. You know, you might find a nylon net out there these days, but most nets are going to be made out of monofilament, and the reason why is because it's clear, it doesn't absorb water very much. Nylon absorbed a lot of water,
Right.
and this monofilament does not. And you want to make sure you have plenty of weight, you know, on it. Most cast nets, to be a good sink rate, you're going to need about 1.5 pounds at least per foot. Good nets will have more. And the sink rate is not only determined by the weights on the end, it's also your mesh size.
Right.
When you've got a small, tiny mesh size, I think this is what, a 1/4 inch? This looks like
This
a
is a
1/4 inch.
quarter, yeah.
This is a 1/4 inch mesh size. It goes, they make even smaller. And this is, you know, a good net for just a regular size white bait, 2 to 3 inch white bait, you know,
Yeah.
a 1/4 inch size. And that's a good rule of thumb is, you know, a 3/8 inch is a good for a lot of different things. What you want to do is you want to get the maximum amount that you can without gilling your baits.
Right.
Because once your baits are able to push their heads through those holes, you end up killing a bunch of them. And that's
Right.
not what you want. You're wanting to catch live baits. Although sometimes you're fishing, you know, you're trying to catch a bunch of bait that you could use for chum or something, it won't matter. But usually that's your rule of thumb. You're going to try to use the largest mesh that you can that doesn't gill the size bait you're
Correct,
after.
because obviously, as you said, the smaller the size mesh, the slower it sinks.
Right.
So when you have big holes, then it's going to sink a lot faster. But then you take a chance of what we refer to it as Christmas treeing your net. And what that is when you pull your net up and it's shaped like a Christmas tree, and all those little bitty heads are sticking out.
Yes,
They look
exactly.
like ornaments, and they're all these baits have been gilled that are too small to get caught in the net.
Right.
And so I'll tell you a cool way to get that done, to get it out. A lot of times you have to pop the heads off and then it drops everything out. If you wait until that fish dries out, like when you get home,
Yeah, it's
let
it's
it
a lot
dry
easier.
out. Don't try to get it out in the boat because it's just problematic. It ends up you stink and it makes a huge mess. When you wait, if you get to, or you wait till you get home and those baits have a chance to dry out, Dave,
Mm-hmm.
if you pop that net like this, just like that, a lot of times it will pop the fish's head off, and then the bait itself or the body of the fish will fall to the inside of the net. Then you
Right.
just have to clean up what's there in your yard.
Well, another thing is, you know, you're going to be also cognizant of the depth of the water you're in. You know, if you're in really deep water and you're fishing for bigger baits, like or even pinfish or mullet, they're good at getting out from under a net. So you need to have plenty of weight that'll pin that net to the bottom and get a good bottom seal, so that when you start picking up on it and,
Right.
and closing it up, if it's not, you know, making contact with the bottom, then you're going to lose some baits out of the bottom. And a good thing to do is, you know, a longer weight actually works really good in places where there's a lot of grass and that sort of thing, because round, small weights will pick up grass. Long weights won't pick up as much grass for some reason. They just won't pick up the
Well,
grass.
one of the reasons why Black Pearl uses the round nets is so that one, it slides across the sand.
Right.
That's number one. It doesn't get hung up. Number two, the difference in what they do is they put more weights closer together.
Right.
A lot of nets will only have half of the weight
Right.
that you have here.
Yeah, you want them to be around 2.5 inches tops apart.
And this is a lot closer
Yeah,
than that.
those are probably under 2 inches.
And so then, as you say, the bait can't push out from underneath.
Right. You want a good contact all the way around when you throw it out. So, And when you take care of them, you know, like this net here is nice and soft. It's because you had it in some fabric softener.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good tip also. When you get a new net, before you do anything, take it out, stretch it, and then put it in a 5-gallon bucket of water and a cup of fabric softener.
Yeah, it makes
Before
it
you ever
really
use
soft.
it, and leave it for 12 to 24 hours. I left this one 24 hours, and look how soft it is.
It's really soft. It makes it fly really nice.
It's like Bree's hair that's been freshly conditioned. Right,
Yes.
Bree?